To a Liverpool fan, because Liverpool fans have got a lot of experience in this competition. Obviously, I assume you watched some of the Arsenal game tonight as well. Did you think it was inexperience above and beyond anything else tonight?
I don't know if inexperience is the word I'd suggest, because okay, Arsenal have been really good the last 5 games. They've been scoring for fun. They've looked pretty solid, but in terms of performances. Is that the anomaly? Is the anomaly the last 5 games? Because the rest of the season they have been putting a decent performance, but they haven't really inspired much confidence in terms of free flowing attacking play. So going away a European night that might have something to do with it. But maybe this is a bit of a returning to them just trying to be solid, trying to be unspectacular, not knowing what Porto is going to show up, or even also maybe not knowing what Arsenal was going to show up. But I wasn't surprised, because this is how Arsenal have probably been playing for most of the season. But the thing is that they've still got losing the first game isn't the away game 1-0 is not the end of the world, because you've got the home game, and I would still expect Arsenal to be favourites to go through.
We'll be careful about that, right? Because Juventus thought about this exact same thing in 2021.
I mean,
and look what happened.
There's no givens. There's no givens, right?
So you talk about
on that, Ram. So do you think Porto are the favourites now, in your opinion? Do you think they're the favourites?
Oh no, Arsenal's still the favourites.
So why are you challenging Rat then?
I'm not challenging Rat. I'm not challenging Rat, Kerry. I'm saying to these Arsenal fans, be careful what you wish for. Do not wish for 3-0. Do not wish for 4-0. Because I told you, man. I told you lot in the group chat. I told you about my guy Sergio Conceição. He is one of the most difficult managers to play against, because he knows how to produce a low block and knows how to keep a team in the game. And look what he did today. He kept Porto in until the very last moment, and then Galeno did what he did. That is Sergio Conceição ball in a nutshell. That's how he's won league titles with this team. And I'm kind of surprised at the fact that there's not a lot of a lot more against a lot of these Arsenal players, because let's be honest, your team is by far better than Porto. By far. I think the only person that's actually given some criticism is Souls. I think everyone else being saying inexperience, I think that's just weak argument, because you're letting 41-year-old Pepe boss your attack. I swear he's like 1 year younger than Mikel Arteta, your manager. How can you let that happen? Like, he should be retired. He should be sipping a glass of wine.
You know what, man?
Let me ask you a question, though. Why do you think it happened? So why do you think that Arsenal couldn't break them down? Why do you think that they defended so well, Porto, and nullified Arsenal to absolutely nothing? Why do you think that? If it's not an experience and they didn't crumble under the pressure because of that, what do you put it down to? What did Arteta tactically get wrong?
I think Sol's made a good point. He didn't bring anyone different. Like, you saw Saka, you saw Martinelli. Those two were getting pocketed by Wendell and Joao Mario. What do? Bring on some fresh legs and bring on some players that with a little bit more impetus and a little bit more desire to play for the badge and fight for their place. That's what you should have done. Instead of bringing on Jorginho, who had a great game against Liverpool, man of the match. But you need to really win this game. If you win this game, you control the entire thing. And the one thing that you guys didn't do was go for it. Like Chairs and myself know we have experience. When we went at Porto, we slapped them. But you guys were just a little bit cautious, didn't have any sort of what's the word? A little bit of risk that Arsenal have been doing for the last couple of games. It's very much anti-Arsenal compared to the last couple of games against Palace and Burnley. So I think you just guys played a different style of play, and you just played into their hands, in my opinion.
All it is, all it is that obviously it's the leg's not over overall, the tie's not over, so they can come back at home, and it's not inconceivable for Arsenal to win the game 2-1, 3-1. But the point that Arsenal fans need to learn is don't run before you can walk. You have been in the Champions League for 7 years, and I'm hearing chat about semi-finals. Semi-finals.
But the media puts us on third favourites.
You're talking semi-finals. Humble yourself and realize the Champions League ain't easy, bro. Like the man them think, Liverpool fans, they think we're lying when we say it's heritage when we win Champions League. It's not easy to win Champions Leagues. It's not easy. And this goes to show Arsenal to be at that top, competing consistently, Champions League, Premier League, is very, 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 very difficult. So it's just a little humbler to not get overexcited. Don't look at the league barometer too much. Everyone's saying, oh, Arsenal are the best team in England, so therefore it means we're going to win the Champions League. Football doesn't work like that. Chelsea weren't the best team in England, but yet we won 2 Champions League twice. So it works opposite way. So no one's saying Arsenal won't go through. I'll be objective. You can still win the game. But Porto today didn't really see much chances, had good play on possession. Yes, they didn't create a lot themselves, but it wasn't like they were under a lot of pressure. It wasn't like they were conceded a lot of chances and they got away with one. In the balance of play, they probably not deserve to win, but you're not upset that they won the game, Arsenal fans. You're more upset at your own team because they done enough to get a result out of that game. And them drawing would have been happy too. They would have been happy to get Emirates with a draw. But now they got a win. You've now got to break them down. You could even break them down when they're playing expansively. So it's been very interesting. I'm not saying Arsenal won't go through, but it's just humbling to never talk too much. Even Liverpool fans on the weekend are not talking too much. So it's just chill, innit? Don't say too much and things like that, you won't get cooked. Simple.
You know what it is also with the biggest thing that Arsenal failed to do tonight? I watched Porto, right? I watched Porto and Benfica. I wanted you guys to win, but you screwed that up. So kind of pissed about that, but whatever. The biggest thing about this Porto team is they are their own worst enemy. I agree with Rams about Conceição, the manager. I like him a lot, but the problem is he has a lack of discipline at times, and so does obviously guys like Pepe. I've seen Dominguez get sent off and others. So the biggest thing that I was bothered by, if I was an Arsenal fan, is that the fact that, okay, on the football pitch, you didn't give them a good game, but you didn't even try to get in their head a little bit. You didn't try to wind up the opposition to get them into a stupid red card or a silly yellow here and there. You didn't offer that mind games. You didn't offer any dark arts, and Porto did. And then they took their moment when they had it. So that, for me, that would be the biggest problem. And the second, I actually see Porto as favorites. They don't need to score a goal. All they need to do is just keep it a draw. I'm not sure with this Arsenal team that they can do this in European setting. I'm sorry. Until I see it, I won't believe it. That's just me, though. I hope you guys, like I said, I don't like Porto. I hope Arsenal advance. So this isn't an Arsenal hatred. I'm on a Porto hatred thing. But if you guys don't give me something to believe in to see this out, then I can't really fake that, to be honest. But yeah, like I said, you guys need to dark arts of the game, I think, is a big separation. And also the fact that Porto played well. They played very well defensively. Yeah,
I hear that. Nate, do you agree with that notion? Do you see Porto now as the favourites to qualify through this tie? You're on mute, brother.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat the question? It never came through clearly on my.
Do you feel that Porto? Do you agree with Steve? Do you think Porto are now the favourites now?
No, I wouldn't say they're the favourites. I mean, if I'm to be very honest, I thought it was just a very poor performance from us. I didn't think we turned up at all. I think defensively they were very solid. They set up in a nice mid block and didn't allow us to progress the ball through the middle of the pitch. I think we were very tepid. I think the first 10-15 minutes of the game, we were moving the ball a lot better. And as the game continued, we got progressively worse. I think passes became a lot more sloppier. I think players kind of lost their heads. I think that's probably one of the worst games I've seen Saliba have. Jorginho came off the bench, was sloppy. That's not really something you would attribute with Jorginho as well. All in all, I thought it was just a really, really poor and tepid performance. And unfortunately, sometimes you have those type of days, and it felt like it was just one of those days. I mean, at 0-0 in the 93rd minute, I was like, you know what, this is not the worst result in a European tie. To get a 0-0 result, take it home, you've got the odds are all stacked in your favour of getting the win. But obviously to concede in such a way, I think Martinelli's overall game was horrible. And then that last piece of play for them to try and switch the ball. That was very naive, and it kind of shows the inexperience of the side. I mean, I think it was a combination of two things. I mean, you've got to sit there and really give Porto credit because they did set up in a really astute way. But I mean, you can also look at Arsenal performance. I mean, how many times did Arsenal have Martinelli and Saka running at their wide players, or having overlaps and how fluid the movement. Trossard was horrible. He had a stinker today. So there was a lot of players today that were off it, and all in all, for me, I just think it shows our inexperience in Europe. It was probably one of the reasons why I would have been more than happy with a 0-0 draw, because we don't really have that pedigree in Europe, or nor do we have enough experienced players that have played in that competition. The likes of Jesus, Zinchenko, Thomas Partey, who are kind of fairly seasoned in that competition, were unavailable. So it was down to the young guns, and today it was a shoddy performance, man. It was a hard watch. To be very honest with you. An extremely hard watch.
It was a hard watch for us. I don't know what it was like for you guys. It was hard for neutrals, because obviously I'm not invested in the game with any emotion, although people think I am, and I'm sitting there like something happened, And the annoying thing about it being a last minute winner is I was like, there's no time for even a response. I'd have, as a neutral, I'd have preferred that goal 70 minutes in, 60 minutes in. At least then you would have seen a little bit of a different approach. We are going to talk Liverpool on the show as well, people. Don't you worry about that. We will get round to that here. Dennis is with us. What did you make of it tonight?
First of all, I do want to say deserved and probably needed wake-up call more than anything, because not just for the club as well, I think for the fan base more than anything, because after we beat Burnley and West Ham, I was hearing everyone saying, oh, we're back, we're the most on-fire team in the Premier League in Europe. I was seeing things about like Porto going to get slept on. We're going to absolutely just fire goals away at them. It's a wake-up call. Like, Porto have won a Champions League. Arsenal have never won a Champions League. Now, on paper, we should win this game. Make no mistake about it. But there's a reason Porto have won the Champions League and Arsenal haven't. When you go to Europe, it's dangerous. It's never easy. This is why I worry about Arsenal in Europe, because I think on paper, we are probably the third or fourth best team in the Champions League, behind Man City, Real Madrid, and arguably Bayern Munich. Obviously, they're bad as well right now. But then you've got the intangibles that make up the difference. Things that Porto have, Atletico Madrid have, the Italians team have. Those little things, that little dark arts to their game that we just don't have right now. And game management and leadership's another problem. Look, at the start of the game, I was wanting a win. On paper, we should get a win. I know people saying Porto played well. I thought they played all right. To be honest, I don't think they were fantastic. I think they struggled in the game as well, but they had a bit of quality in the final third. But for me, when it gets to 70 minutes, 75 minutes, smell it out, realize, look, we're not going to score a goal here. We haven't had the shot on target. Go back to the Emirates with a 0-0. But we go and we can see the goal like that. And look, you could say it's a wonder strike. I agree. But in my opinion, it might be a bit harsh. If you score from outside the box, unless it's a deflection, you have to look at the goalkeeper to some regard. I think Raya, he dives too early. Take a step to your left, then dive. It's like, I don't get what he was doing in that respect. So I think on paper, still, we should win the game back at the Emirates. But another thing, Arteta's never won a knockout home European game. And he took the job before COVID started. So what does that tell you? Like,
no, that can't be true, Dennis.
No, it is true. It is true. And that's also why I forgot to mention, I'm giving the slight favorites edge to Porto, 51-49.
Bro,
Porto have advanced.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. Yeah, you mentioned Raya there. I've seen a lot of people online saying he should have done better with the shot. Do you think he could have done better with that?
Well, look, it was a wonder strike. But for me, it's harsh. I'm not a goalkeeper, so I don't want to obviously talk too badly on the position. If it's from outside the box, the keeper, in my opinion, should do better. I always think that. Like, there's enough time from the ball being struck to it hitting the back of net for you to react and make a stop. I think he dived too early. Also, Raya, I don't know whether it's instruction from Arteta, but the brother never stands in his 6-yard box. He always stands too far forward. I don't know whether it's just me, but I feel like I don't know what it is with him. I've seen it, even Ramsdale was doing it similar last season. So look, it's a wonder strike at the end of the day. And that's quality in the final third that they had, and we didn't. And another thing I just want to say to end off as well is about Arsenal's attacking players, because I thought they were fantastic in our last 3 games, to be honest. But when it came to the big occasion, I remember after the Burnley game, I said, brilliant game, but the big test is on Wednesday in Europe. The biggest lights are on you. On the way to the game, Rio Ferdinand was saying, "Oh, Saka ain't world class." Arsenal fans were shouting him, saying, "No, he is. No, he is. No, he is." The time was there for him. He didn't really turn up, and I love Saka to bits. He didn't really turn up today, to be honest. And that's not just him. I don't want to dig him out. Martinelli equally. Odegaard was shambolic, I do want to say. Trossard, forgot he was playing, to be honest, man. Genuinely. So I do think that a lot of players need to stand up and be counted. 3 weeks' time, thankfully, is a long time. And thankfully, it's 2 legs. Because we can make up for what we made, for what we did wrong on this game. But a lot needs to turn around. And importantly, can we change it going into Saturday? Because that's the biggest thing for me. We're in a title race as well. We can't let this fester around, like this complacency to fester around going into the game on Saturday, because Newcastle are bad as well. Make no mistake about it. But these will smell blood a little bit. If they see Arsenal have a lack of confidence, they're an energetic team. They'll run around the football pitch. They have a nice midfield that will start running about. You know what I mean? So I think we got to look at that game on Saturday as well and go, we need to respond there, because don't lose back to back. That's the worst possible thing.
Yeah, and no, I agree. On that as well, yeah. Sorry, just to touch on that. I mean, we have a history of losing games in succession, so it's never just one game. It's usually, 2s and 3s, which has been real pattern that's kind of happened under Arteta. So that's another one of the worrying things at the back of our mind is how are we going to bounce back? I mean, yeah, overall, I mean, I think Dennis hit a lot of solid points in regards to the fan base and expecting to kind of rock up in away at a hostile European ground and turn over a team like Porto when we, with all honesty, we haven't shown enough in Europe, and we've got, a fairly inexperienced side. I mean, it's extremely naive to think. But also, I'd like to say in regards to the whole Saka debate, I do think that all in all, I don't think we played to our best players enough throughout the game, and we can pin that on the entire team. I don't think we gave them the balls in certain situations and created an environment for them to thrive. It was very seldom that they got the ball, and it was, like I said, man, it was a poor, horrible, difficult watch.
It was, and I'm even just thinking about it and reflecting. It's in those games where sometimes you need to stop being the aggressor and almost let what you may be better off doing is saying, Porto, have the ball. You have the ball. We're going to sit back. We're going to invite you out. Draw some of that space out, and it was kind of that. Arsenal had a plan A tonight. They had no plan B this evening, and they didn't make plan A work at all.